Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see current affairs of 16th December 2025. So let's get started with our discussion, guys. Before getting started, we are going to see important topics of the day. Let us see the introduction of those topics and later on we are going to see in detail. And at last, I'm going to give you even prelims based practice questions at last, guys. Please do watch until last. Don't skip this video anyway. Okay, let us see the topics of the day. The first topic is new job guarantee plan to be supply driven. So actually, you know that in the rural areas, we have one job guarantee scheme that is called as MG Narega. Recently, government introduced a bill to change the name of this MG Narega, and this topic is very important and we have to see what is that bill is about and what are the new provisions which were added under that bill. You may get prelims based question from this area, guys. And this topic is very important from your governance from GS paper 2. Our next topic is Center proposes to send bill that seeks to replace UGC to joint committee. So even one more bill which had been introduced in this winter session of parliament, it is to replace entire our UGC. And it is very important. UGC stands for Universities Grant Commission, and we are going to replace that with one more new committee now. Here you have to see what is that committee, what is the specialty of that committee, and how this committee will be different from this UGC. And this topic is important from education from GS paper 2, which comes under governance point of view. Our next topic is trade deficit falls to $6.6 billion in November due to merchandise export growth. So this article is talking about one important concept called as trade deficit from your economy from GS paper 3. Our next topic is Rajkumar Goyal takes oath as CIC, 8 more sworn in. This article is talking about RTA Act. So RTA Act is nothing but we came up with this act to empower people, and under this act we established CIC and as well as SICs. So under that we have chief information commissioners and as well as other information commissioners. So here this article is saying that we appointed one person who is a retired IAS officer as a CIC, and finally he takes oath. Apart from that CIC, there are 8 more other information commissioners who took oath. And this topic is very important from your GS paper to under governance, and even from GS paper to under polity also this topic is very important. And this one here is unemployment rate dips to 4.7% in November, says PLFS. Periodic labor force survey had been released for month of November, and it said that unemployment rate had been decreased to 4.7%. So here we have to see what are the highlights of this report, and this topic is important from economy from GS paper 3. Our next topic is massacre in Sydney. Actually, at this Bondi beach, so there is massacre happened. 2 gunmen they fired open, and that led to killing of around 15 persons, and more than 40% they got injured in this festival, which is celebrated by this community, and that community is called as Jew community. As you all know that across this world against this Jew community, there are lots of persecution is happening, right? So it is one example that you can see here, and this topic is very important from your international relations from GS paper 2. And from this area you may get prelims based question. I gave at last a prelims based question regarding this topic. Our next topic is, does India need to upgrade its biosecurity measures? So here we have to focus on what is biosecurity and which kind of biosecurity issues that we are going to have in future, and next we have to see how we have to tackle that. And this topic is important from GS paper to under governance, and even from GS paper to under international relations also we can see this article. Okay, see this article, guys. New job guarantee plan to be supply driven. So this article is at most important. From now onwards, if this bill is passed, you have to forget this MG Narega and you have to remember a new name for this scheme, guys. So here we have to see what is that bill is about, what are the provisions of that bill. If you see the context, this article is saying that the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Gramin. So your MG Narega is going to be replaced by this VBG Ramji bill. VBG Ramji. So what is this full form? Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Gramin. So here we introduced this VBG Ramji Bill 2025 in our winter session now, and it is going to replace our MG Narega Act. And why we came up with this? To bring certain reforms in our employment programs in our country. If you see what are the proposals, as you know, under this MG Narega, government will be providing how many days of guarantee employment? 100. And now we are going to increase that to 125 under this bill. Under this new bill, we are going to improve employment days to 125 days of every year. And one important problem with this MG Narega is there is delay in payments. We are going to ensure faster payments every week to make income timely and reliable for these workers under this scheme. And next one here is this share for this scheme. The amount which will be spent for the scheme will be shared between central government and as well as state government. And the sharing is 60:40 and 90:10 in union territories. And this one is we are going for better planning by allocating of funds based on the state requirements and based on the money efficiently. And this one is we are going to secure rural livelihood also, and it will helpful for reducing of migration and will reduce stress on these urban areas. And next one is we are going to consider the local needs, especially in the villages, in the rural areas, the main occupation is agriculture. So in agriculture in certain time or in certain months, there will be very heavy work availability for this rural people. So we are leaving that days, and apart from that days, we are going to provide employment under this new bill. And we are going to ensure proper execution as well as monitoring and as well as payments for better results. So these are the key proposals of this new bill. And what are the challenges here? The challenges will be now, one major challenge is funds. There will be increasing of financial burden on the states. Why? Because now the share is the proportion of funding between central and state. Central will be giving 60% and state have to bear 40%. And 90:10 is for union territories. Okay, some states may face budgetary pressures to meet their share of wage payments. Now, one important point here is there will be increasing of financial burden on the states. And this one is reduce work availability during peak farming. A 60 days pause during sowing and harvesting may shorten the window for these rural households, especially during this time period whenever there is good availability of work in these rural areas. We are going to keep that aside. So because of this, sometimes we cannot meet 125 days of target under this scheme. And this one is implementation challenges. So here, if you want to implement anything, for sure we will be having, we will need lot of political will, and this political will be not there properly. So because of this, there will be certain problems in implementing of this scheme. And next one here is there is also a delay. There is also a risk of delay in payments as it had been done in this MG Narega scheme. And next one here is regional disparities, especially in agroclimatic zones. And if you are going away from these agriculture regions, there will be some disparities in the number of days they are getting work. So this is also one important problem now. And next one here is there is over or underestimation of allocations. If that may also lead to the number of working days provided, and it can also disrupt government plans. So these are the some important challenges of this new bill, guys. Okay, now let us see the next article. Look at the title. Centre proposes to send bill that seeks to replace UGC to joint committee. So as you all know that almost all higher education in India is controlled by UGC. But now we are going to replace this UGC with a new committee, and in our winter session the bill had been proposed. And if this bill is passed, it means now we are going to completely replace this UGC with a new committee. So here we have to see what is that new committee is about, what are the membership, what is the eligibility criteria, what are its works, and it will be supervising which education institutions in our country, all those things that you have to remember. And there is a very high chance of getting question regarding this new committee, okay, in your prelims. Okay, now let us see the context. Our union government proposed a bill, please make a note, Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhinishthan Bill 2025. Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhinishthan Bill, and this bill aimed at overhauling India's higher education regulatory system by replacing age-old UGC, AICTE and NCTE with a new umbrella commission. We are going to come up with a new umbrella commission. It is going to replace almost all higher education regulatory systems in our country. Which are those? UGC, AICTE, NCTE. You have to remember these three. In UPSC, there is a very high tendency of asking question like, consider the following statements regarding this new commission. And they may ask, it will replace all regulatory systems. But it is only replacing this three. It is not all. You have to remember like that. So first one is UGC, next one is AICTE, and next one is NCTE. Okay, what are the objectives of this bill? So this bill states that the important primary objective or purpose is to enable and empower universities. Why? Because the problems we are facing in this higher education, they are not solved by this all regulatory bodies which are there, which are given here. So we have UGC, IC, AICTE, NCTE, they are not solving the problems of our higher education. So because of this, we need to upgrade them. We have to replace them with a new one. Why? Because we have to increase excellence in teaching and learning, research, innovation. So how can we come up with those ideas? So first we have to focus on better coordination between regulatory bodies. And we need to have a clear determination of academic and institution standards. And we need to have a unified governance mechanism system. And next one here is we need to have a statement of objects and reasons which emphasizes on this NEP 2020. NEP 2020 had to be implemented on ground level. So for all these things, we are going to replace that three organizations with a new commission now. And what is structure? So here in this bill, Central proposed that we are going to have 12-member umbrella commission, and it will be acting as a apex body, and it will oversee three councils. They are saying that we are going to come up with the three councils. We are replacing these three councils, right? So we are going to come up with the three new councils, and we are going to have a commission which will be overseeing all these three now under this bill. So what are these three? The first one is Viksit Bharat Viniyaman Parishad. It is a regulatory council. So this council is now responsible for maintaining regulatory standards. And even this council will coordinate now governance norms in universities and colleges. Especially we are going to have one council which will be focusing on only regulation. Regulation of what? Regulation of standards. And even it will coordinate with the governance norms, and it will focus on how universities are working, whether they are having this proper regulation or not, whether the colleges are following the norms or not. So first one is we are going to have a regulatory council. And next one here is accreditation council. Accreditation council is called as Viksit Bharat Gunvata Parishad. So what it will do, it will supervise this accreditation process, and it will helps to build an independent ecosystem for institutions and program accreditations. Accreditation is nothing but giving of licensing. So regarding this licensing also, we are going to have one council. And next one is standards council. So after giving permission, even regulation, so we need to provide a proper standards. That means, for example, if you are running a medical college, so here these are the things that you have to impart in the students. For example, if you are running an engineering college, so what kind of skills we have to develop in the students according to this 21st century needs. So we need to have a certain standards, like syllabus has to be completed within these months, and you'll be having your sem 1, sem 2, like that. Every year you'll be having sems. So which is the syllabus that you have to cover in the sem 1, sem 2, and what about the practicals and lab work, and even whatever the projects that you'll do in your final year. So we have to go for publishing of those. So everything we need to have a certain standards. So here Viksit Bharat Manak Parishad, which will provide standards, which establish academic standards, and even it will ensure harmonization of policies and quality benchmarks. And each council will have up to 14 members, and these 14 members will be from education ministry. They are experts from this education ministry, state higher education institutions, and as well as eminent experts. So these are the three councils that we are going to establish, and on top of these three, we are going to have a commission which will be regulating all these three. First one is talking about regulation. Second one is talking about accreditation, that is nothing but certification. Next one is providing of standards. Okay, so if you see which are the institutions covered under bill, on this area you may get a prelims based question. So which all institutions are covered under this bill? First one is it will be covering central and as well as state universities, colleges and higher education institutions, institutions of national importance, institutions of eminence, technical and teacher education institutions. All this will be covered. But what all will not be covered here is medicine related things will not be covered. Medicine related colleges will not be covered. And dentistry, nursing, law, pharmacology, veterinary sciences are exempted. So all these branches or all these colleges are exempted from this bill, because regarding medical we have medical council, right? UGC will not be guiding this or seeing this medicine. So here only UGC, AICTC, which college or they are monitoring, they will come under this new bill. But this law, dentistry, nursing, pharmacology, veterinary sciences, they will not come under this bill. So earlier how the regulation was, that will be continuing the same. There is no changes in this colleges. Okay, and even Council of Architecture will remain the professional standard setting body for architecture, but will not give the regulatory powers. And even regarding this architecture also, whatever the body which is guiding or which is overseeing them, they will continue with this itself. We are not going to, this new bill is not going to impact these two areas: architecture, medicine, dentistry, nursing, law, pharmacology, and as well as veterinary sciences. And you have to remember. Okay, let us see the next article. Look at the title. Trade deficit falls to $6.6 billion in November due to merchandise exports. Okay, if you see this image, what can you see? A bar diagram, right? Blue color and red color. Blue color shows about our exports and red color shows about our imports. So here if you compare with this November 2024 and November 2025, so which is more here? November 2025 is more. That means exports in this November 2025 is more compared to that of exports in November 2024. So here if you see, this represents imports. And here it is November 2024, this is November 2025. So which imports are more and which imports are less? Imports are more in this November compared to that of imports of November 2025. 2024 imports are more compared to that of 2025. So if you compare this data, can we say here on one side there is increasing of our exports and decreasing of our imports? What does it mean? If you see about the trade, we have two components. We have exports and as well as we have imports. And in this trade, you will come across two concepts. What are they? Trade surplus and next one is trade deficit. So when we have this surplus, trade surplus, whenever exports are more compared to that of imports, that condition is called as surplus. And whenever imports are more compared to that of exports, that is called as trade deficit. So here if you compare with this November 2024, both exports and imports are more or exports are more? Imports are more. That means sure we are in this condition of trade deficit, right? If you compare with this November 2025 and November 2025 exports and imports, again we have this trade deficit only. But what this article is saying is, if you compare with this last year, now we have less trade deficit. Okay, and here even you can see the data. Imports are 31.9, around 32. Okay, and here it is around 63.8, 64. If you minus this, how much it is there? 32. Okay, so here we have 32 trade deficit in this November 2024. If you take data of 2025, it is around 38 and here it is 62.6, that means around 63. 63 minus 38, how much it will be? Come on, tell me guys. 62, 20? So here what happened here is the trade deficit. If you compare with 32 here, 65. That means there is decreasing of trade deficit. Okay, so that is the thing which mainly said. And here around 6.6 billion. So if you calculate the data here, so trade deficit falls to 6.6 billion. In India, we have trade deficit of 6.6 billion. That means how much we are importing and how much we are exporting. If we are tallying the data, we are having the negative trade. Yes or no? If we are increasing our exports, that is called as positive trade. So here we have negative trade of $6.6 billion in month of November. But this article is saying that here, if you are comparing with this November 24 and November 2025, Here we have around 32 and here around we have 38. That means around 6% of increasing of trade compared to that of last year. So because of this now there is decreasing of our trade deficit. That is this article talking about. So here you have to see like which are the major imports of our country and which are the major exports of our country to other countries. Okay, so you may get a mains prelims based question here. So how you have to make a notes here is you have to write down the imports, major imports what we are getting, and next one is major exports from India. And you know we are getting crude oil, we are getting gold, etc. Right? So from which countries we are getting that from? And next one is major exports. We are doing pharmaceutical products exports, and we are doing exports of rice, etc. So to which countries we are doing that? Because recently rice is in news. US claimed that India is dumping rice in US markets, and because of that Trump said that we are going to increase again tariffs on Indian rice to protect American farmers. Yes or no? That means this year there is a very high chance of getting questions regarding our exports of rice. Not only rice, and even 50% of tariffs is in news, right? So because of this, you have to know about our exports and imports and which are the countries from which we are getting that goods or from where we are exporting, and you have to see the country wise also. They may ask one by one or they may specifically take rice and they may ask like to which countries you are exporting rice. So both the ways are possible in this UPSC. So you have to make a notes regarding this. If you are making such kind of notes, you will be getting an idea like clear cut picture. You will be getting how international relations are important for our economy also. Okay, do this chart today after the class. Okay, now let us see the next article. Look at the title. Rajkumar Goyal takes oath as CIC. 8 moves 1 in. In our ethics class, we discussed about this RTI Act. In that RTI Act, I said that many a times we are having a problems regarding this appointment of CICs and information commissioners. We are not going to appoint them on time. There is always vacancy. And one good news here is after our ethics class, for the first time, our information commissioner CIC is at correct level now. There is no vacancy now after this warning of this 8 ICs and as well as CIC. So it is one of the best thing that we can say that happened in this end of December or end of this 2025 guys. We filled all the seats of ICs and CIC now. So it is one best news that we can say. So because of this achievement, you may get question regarding RTI Act in your prelims or else directly CIC or SIC or ICs in your prelims. Okay, and you will be studying about this topic in your non-constitutional bodies in your polity. In polity we have constitutional bodies and non-constitutional bodies, right? So here in this non-constitutional bodies you will be studying about this chief information commissioners and information commissioners. So just go through that chapter once and try to make in detail notes of this CICs and ICs. For sure 100% you will be getting questions regarding this in your prelims case, and this topic is at most important from polity and as well as governance point of view. Okay, now let us see the context. President administered the oath to office. Who is administering here? President. So here you may get a question like Prime Minister will administer the oath for CIC. So based on your observation, you have to remember that kind of small minute points. Who is administering here? President, not Prime Minister. President administered the oath of office to former IAS officer Rajkumar Goyal as Chief Election Commissioner of Central Information Commission. Okay, so because of this it is in news. At the state level we have State Information Commissioner, and even at the central level we have Central Information Commission. So now we appointed CIC at this Central Information Commission. Okay, if you are talking about this CIC is a statutory body. It is not a constitutional body. It had been established under one act called as RTI Act of 2005. Because of this, it is not a constitutional body. Whenever we are talking about bodies, we will see about three kinds of bodies: constitutional, non-constitutional, and executive bodies. What is a constitutional? If there is any article in our constitution talks about that body is called as constitutional body. Statutory means nothing but if there is any act which had been passed by the parliament, that led to formation of that body that is called as statutory body. Then what is this executive body? If in case of urgent importance, if president is passing any order, executive order, so because of that order, if you are establishing any body, that is called as executive body. So we have three types of bodies, and this CIC is a statutory body, not a constitutional body. And what is its functions? It mainly implement RTI. What is RTI? If you want to get any information from the government, we can file RTI. Just we can pay just 10 rupees on website and we can file an RTI. And now here government has to provide information. Who will provide information? This CIC and as well as ICs. They will take out all your RTIs and they will provide the information, guys. Okay, and it will looks into the complaints which are made related to this RTI and as well as appeals related to this RTI. And this headquarter of the CIC is located in New Delhi, very important. And if you see about this composition of this Central Information Commission, it consists of Chief Information Commissioner and not more than 10 Information Commissioners. And who will appoint them? President of India will appoint them based on the recommendations of a committee. And this committee will contain Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha, and a Union Cabinet Minister nominated by this Prime Minister. So these are the three members will be there in this committee, and this committee will be recommending the names to President, and finally President will appoint the members as CICs and as well as ICs, Chief Information Commissioners and as well as Information Commissioners. And what are the qualifications? These people who will be appointed as the CIC or Information Commissioners, they need to be having the good knowledge in regarding this public life. They should have experience in law or science and technology, social service, management, journalism, mass media, administration, governance. In these fields, they should be expertised. And you have to focus on not. Normally in polity, they will be asking questions on not more rather than what is the eligibility criteria. They want to confuse you and they want to trap you. So if they want to trap you, they will be asking on this not. Remember this one, guys, whenever you're reading polity, rather than their roles and responsibilities, you have to think what they cannot do. Focus on these areas because they will be asking you on this only, and they will mix this they can do and they cannot do, and they will be giving you the statements, and they will be asking you find right or incorrect, correct or incorrect. So you'll be falling into the trap. So focus more on not, who are not eligible, not appointed. Not will be focused much by UPSC in polity, guys. So if you see who should not be the CICs or ICCs, they should not be a member of parliament or member of legislative assembly. Next one is they should not hold any office of profit, and they should not connected with any political party, and they should not carry any business or pursuing any profession. Then only they are eligible as this CICs or ICs. They can be appointed by the president. Okay, what is the tenure here? Chief Information Commissioner and other information commissioners, they will hold office for such a term prescribed by central government. Okay, who will decide? It is not parliament, it is not president, it is central government. So UPSC can give you parliament, president, prime minister. No, it is central government together until they attain the age of 65 years. So here this tenure will be decided by central government, or else until they reach 65 years, they can do this job. And the Central Information Commissioner as well as Information Commissioners, they are not eligible for reappointment. If once we are appointing any CIC, if he is retired, if his work is done, means again he is not eligible for appointment for the same post. And this one is an Information Commissioner, he will be eligible for appointment of CIC, but CIC is not eligible for reappointment. Okay, and the tenure of the CIC will be not more than 5 years. Okay, so these are some important things that you have to remember. And now let us see the next article. See the title: unemployment rate dips to 4.7% in November, says sorry, PLFS. So can anyone tell me what is the full form of this PLFS? Come on. Okay, what is the meaning of unemployment? Okay, people are willing to do work, but they are not getting work. That is called as unemployment. Okay, in which subject you will be studying about this unemployment? Yes, economy. So if you see the context, it says that the unemployment rate among the people aged 15 years and above had been declined to 4.7 percentage in month of November. In month of November, there is decreased unemployment rate in our country. The lowest level from since April, in the April month, the lowest level of unemployment was seen. At that time, unemployment was like 5.1%, but now it is 4.7 percentage. Who said this? Periodic Labor Force Survey report said this. And if you see the highlights of this report, it said that there is declining of unemployment rate in India to 4.7 percentage, and in rural areas it is 3.9 percentage of unemployment rate, in urban areas 6.5, overall in India it is 4.7%. That means unemployment rate is high in this urban areas compared to that of rural areas. That is the first interpretation that you have to get from this. And second one is gender wise unemployment. Male unemployment had been decreased to 4.6, and in rural areas it is 4.1 percentage of unemployment, in urban areas 5.6 percentage. And in female it is 4.8 percentage, in rural areas 3.4 percentage of unemployment rate for women, and in urban areas 9.3. That means, can we see there is gender disparity for this unemployment for women? Yes, male are having 5.6 percentage of unemployment, but women are having this 9.3. So you have to think like what are the reasons which led to this gender disparity in unemployment in rural areas and urban areas. In urban areas, there is no proper safety for women compared to that of rural areas that we can get from this data. And next one is labor force participation rate. What is labor force participation rate? The amount of or the total number of people or population who are working in India is called as labor force participation rate. And labor force participation rate is high in India. Around 55.8 percentage of population they are under working now. And in the rural areas also it had been increased, and in urban areas there is marginally decreasing of labor force participation rate. And next one is worker population ratio also had been increased in India. So these are the highlights of this PLFS report for this November 2025. Okay, now let us see the next article. Have you seen this news massacre in Sydney? So one port, and that port is called as Bondi Port. Okay, Bondi. Yeah, Bondi Beach. So in one beach called as Bondi Beach. Okay, can you see now? Bondi Beach. Bondi Beach in Sydney. It is one of the Australia's most iconic locations. Actually, you know this Jewish community. So as a Jewish community is celebrating their biggest festival called as Hanukkah festival. And this festival which marks the starting of Jewish calendar. So normally we'll celebrate this January 1st, and we'll celebrate this Ugadi, right? In this India, Ugadi is very famous for the starting of the new year, but now we are following this English trend and we'll celebrate this January 1st, right? So these people, Jewish people, they'll celebrate this Hanukkah festival as the first day of their Jewish calendar starting. That is nothing but new year for this Jewish people, and they are celebrating this festival by a mass gathering along this Bondi beach. Suddenly two gunmen, they came and they started firing, and they are suspected that father and son itself, and they targeted this Jewish community and they started killing of this Jewish community. So actually what is happening in this Australia is anti-Semitic movements. There are nothing but the movements against this Jewish are going on in this Australia, and this is one deadly terror attack that happened in this Australia. In this event, around 15 people were died and more than 40 people got injured. Okay, so here you may get question regarding this beach. Okay, you may get directly statements regarding this Bondi Beach. For example, you may get question like this. Recently, Bondi Beach is in news. Consider the following statements. They'll give you 2 to 3 statements regarding this. They may ask which of the above statements are correct or incorrect. And actually, this incident happened in Australia, right? And like this similar way, the important beaches which are there in news from last 1 year. They may ask identify the current pairs. On one side they'll give you the beaches names, and on one other side they'll give you the name of the country where that beach is located, and they may also add one more column like why it is in news. If UPSC wants to complicate this question, they may give you this kind of pairs based question, and UPSC have this tendency every year you will be getting this kind of 2 questions related to this format. They will take the place, country, and why it is in news. Every year 2 questions will be there in this format. So this is a major incident which happened now. Because of this, you have to focus on, you have to make the list of important beaches in news across the world, why they are in news. Okay. So now let us see this article in detail. Let us see about what is this Bondi Beach. So Australia was shaken by a deadly terror-linked mass shooting at Sydney's Bondi Beach during a Jewish festival, and because of this, it created lots of fear for this Jewish community across the world. So Bondi Beach is world's famous ocean beach adjoining suburb in Sydney. It is known for surf culture, tourism, public recreation, and it is one of the most visited beaches of Australia. And the key features here is it is a crescent-shaped sandy beach, and it is having a boundary with this Tasman Sea. Okay, and one more area, one more type of question you can get is beach on one side, one column, countries on one column, and they'll ask with which sea or ocean it is having boundary with. So in this way also UPSC can ask question. So this Bondi Beach is sharing boundary with Tasman Sea. Okay. So in this way you have to make the notes, important famous beaches in the news, and you have to say in which country, and it is sharing boundary with which ocean or sea. And this one is, it is featured in global TV series like Bondi Rescue, Bondi Vet. And here in this region we can see multicultural people who are coming and who will celebrate this kind of things normally there. And especially we can see this area is traditionally inhabited by Bidjigal, Birabigal, Gandigal Aboriginal people of Australia. Okay, and this beach is very important for the tourism and economy, and even it is having the good cultural history and as well as public safety relevance also. Now it is in news case. Okay, see this next article. Does India needs to upgrade biosafety measures? What is the meaning of biosafety? Biosafety is nothing but the set of practices and systems designed to deter international misuse of biological agents, toxins, or technologies. For example, COVID-19 pandemic. If you have seen the Seventh Sense movie, it is a biosecurity issue. So other countries can use life that is nothing but microorganisms or like any toxins or any biology related things, and they can wage a war against any country. That kind of instances comes under this biosecurity. So biosecurity refers to the practices and systems designed to deter the intentional misuse. Intentionally they want to misuse that life, that comes under biosecurity. So here you may get a question. Recently biosecurity is seen in news. What this word refers to, and they'll give you ABCD options, and they may ask you to identify the correct meaning for this biosafety. So here always you have to remember intentional. If there is no word intentional, means that is wrong option. So here we are going to use that intentionally. Intentionally we are going to misuse that kind of things like toxins. For example, even ricin is in news now. Ricin poisoning, right? So here there is a very high chance of getting question regarding this biosafety in your prelims case. And this one is India's geography and ecology also make India vulnerable because of this cross-border biorisk. We are sharing boundary with different countries like Pakistan and China, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Bhutan, Nepal, and even with this maritime arena, we are sharing boundary with this Sri Lanka as well as Maldives. So because of this geography and because of ecology, what is ecology? We have Himalayas and we have a long coastline through which here it can easily, and you know, recently China developed this jellyfish drone. What happens if they use this jellyfish drones even to send certain toxins into our Indian coastline, right? So here there are lots of issues because of this geography and as well as ecology of India. And India is mainly dependent on agriculture, and large population makes the threat more dangerous. And the risk of inadequate biosafety apparatus. We don't have proper biosafety apparatus in our country. So because of this, it may lead to the loss of millions of peoples of India if we are going to have any biosecurity threat soon. Okay, so here this article is saying that we need to have a proper framework. So what kind of framework we need to have? So see here just last paragraph. So here this article is saying that we need to have a national biosecurity framework, and this national biosecurity framework need to coordinate actions across various government agencies. And this framework would also able to identify infrastructure and capability gaps that needs to be addressed. Okay, so that this last point is very important. That's it, guys. And even there is one more report which is saying that we have Global Health Security Index report, and India's rank is 66, which is saying that India is going to have biosecurity threats. Because of this, we need to have a framework which will identify this biosecurity. That's the thing. Because of this ranking under this Global Health Security Index, now this article is saying that we need to have a biosecurity framework, and we have to coordinate and we have to develop the plans, develop infrastructure, so that India will be like prepared. If India is not prepared, it will lead to the loss of millions of lives in our country. That is the thing which mainly said, guys. And even if you see this paragraph, they say that why India needs biosecurity. So recently I said about this ricin toxin. Two doctors in this Maharashtra, they are going and developing this ricin, and they want to mix in the water, and as well as especially in temples prasadam they want to mix, and they want to kill the people. That is the issue now, it is in news. And next one here is we are also having certain issues from this genetically modified organisms and even genetically modified plants, and even many countries are developing weapons of mass destructions. Okay, because of this we need to have this. That is the thing which mainly said, nothing more than that. Okay, and let us see the prelims practice questions. Read the statements clearly. First one, it is about CIC. Consider the following statements regarding CIC, Central Information Commissioner. Under okay, in Right to Information Act 2005. So first one is CIC is a statutory body that hears appeals and complaints related or to denial or inadequate provisions of information by public authorities. And next one is the Chief Information Commissioner and Information Commissioners are ineligible for reappointment in the same post after their term ends. Read the statement. Read the second statement one more time. They are ineligible. Who are ineligible? CIC and IC. Next, see here, in the same post. Again confused? You know, CIC is not eligible, but what about IC? Eligible for which post? CIC post. That means the statement is right or wrong? Right or wrong? Come on, say one. Who says right and who says wrong? Right? Wrong? Okay, next one. In December 2025, CIC attained its full sanction strength of 1 information commissioner and 10 information commissioners for the first time in over 9 years. This statement is absolutely right. What about this first and second? Which is right and which is wrong? First will be compulsory right, and they're going to see the options. Everywhere fun is there. See the options first. So whenever you are reading your questions, seeing options is very important because you are having very less time, and within 1 minute you have to answer that one question. So if you are getting this kind of multiple statements, it will take more than 1 minute for sure. So while you are reading the question itself, before reading questions, first see the options. So even while you are answering this reading comprehensions also, first you have to see question options, and question you have to read this passage. So in the same way here, already one is right, means no need of reading this statement for sure. And see this other two statements. And this third is for sure right. So here you have two options which are left, 1, 3 and 1, 2, 3. So actually this is right statement because they are ineligible for same portion. That means IC cannot become IC once again and CIC cannot become CIC once again. But IC can become CIC. So they said same post. In this way UPSC will confuse you in this polity. Polity will be very simple. But while reading this kind of statements, they will use some tricks so that they will make you to confuse. So correct answer is 1, 2 and 3. Option D is the right answer. See this question guys. Don't blame me after seeing this question. UPSC will ask this kind of questions. Consider the following pairs of famous beaches or coastal regions, their countries, and the reason they have been in international news in December 2025. I collected only the beaches which are there in news in 2025 December itself. Here you have to collect data from last 1 year. Okay, so here on one side they gave pairs. They gave 3 pairs, 1, 2, 3. Beach or coastal region, they gave Bondi Beach. Next one is Algarve. And third one is Samil, Ksamil. So these are the 3 beaches or coastal regions which are there in news. And country they gave here is Australia, Portugal, Albania. Countries in ledu. Mere ma portly cheptunnaru. How can I do? So this will be the reality of UPSC exam. Okay, so you know only this Bondi Beach. Okay, Bondi Beach is in Australia or not? Sydney is in Australia. So why it is in news? Reason in news. A site of deadly anti-Semitic terrorist attack during Hanukkah celebration. That is for sure right. Okay, here if you see the options, in all these 3 options, you have this one. You can eliminate first one option here. You can eliminate this C. And this one is Algarve, Portugal, crowned world's leading beach destination 2025 at the World Travel Awards. In one awards, it got this world's leading beach destination 2025. Actually, it is also right. And next one is Skamil in Albania, emerged as top trending beach destination with soaring global search interest. Actually, this is also right. Actually, option here is 1, 2, 3. So here, how can you handle this kind of questions is, you have to expect like the topic is like grave importance or not. If you see in Australia, this kind of terror attack is like very, very great. It is having great impact across the world, right? So if you are getting that kind of news if you are getting that kind of articles in the newspaper, for sure you have to collect information like whether this happened for the first time or whether it had happened earlier. So if it happened earlier, where it had happened, and you have to see the geography, because in map based questions you will be getting at least 4 to 5 in your paper. So in that map based questions you will be having this kind of questions. So if you don't know for sure means you have to leave that questions. Or if you want to go for intelligence guess, so whatever the thing that you know, you have to be like, see that. I'll tell you the techniques. If you are getting this pair based questions, normally if they are giving 4 pairs, so you have to see like only 2 option, or else if you're getting 3 pairs like that, you have to select 1 only or 3 only. So like that we'll be doing certain techniques in our prelims practice classes. Okay, I said after this ethics I'll take 2 classes. No, I'll tell you the lots of techniques like how to solve your prelims questions. Okay, there will be like around 12 to 13 techniques that you have to practice to solve your questions. I'll tell you that. Okay, so these are the important topics that appeared in our today's Hindu newspaper, guys. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching this class, and please do like this class and share this class to your friends. And if you want to give any review for our academy, we already posted Google review link in the description box, so please click that and please give the rating and as well as your review on our academy. So it will be very helpful for our growth. And one more thing here is we are going to provide you this prelims based question with answer and as well as mains question with more answer and also current affairs in short in our Instagram page. So please do follow us on our Instagram. And even if you want to get this notes in the PDF format, you can follow us on our Telegram channel. Don't forget, guys. Thank you so much.